Howdy, this is Gray Pilgrim. I and Oregon Loner here are in my gun room, and we're talking about his Dean Adams revolver, which he kindly brought over to show me. So I'll leave it up to you.
All right. So, this is the Dean Adams of 1851. It was made by, the patent was the Adams patent of 1851. It was the first double-action revolver ever made, ever patented, and it was made in Britain. It was produced, I want to say, until 1856, and then it was replaced with a later model, and then eventually what became known as the Tranter, and that's the third version of it, which was used by the Canadian Rocky Mountain Police, whatever they're called.
RCMP.
Yeah. And this is in 50 caliber. This was the one for the cavalry. This is the Dragoon model. And it's always been double action only until the third model, which had a little hammer spur on it, so you could actually single action it. 5 rounds instead of 6. It's really easy to take the cylinder out. You just have this little pin in the middle here, holding it in place. So you got to pull the trigger back a little bit. It's a real heavy trigger pull because it's double action only. A 5-round cylinder here.
Can I see the
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to see those are long nipples on it.
Yeah. So those ones, they were first shown in the Great Exhibition of 1851, along with Colt's 1851, what we know of as the Navy.
The wheel of Colt's.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah.
But Adam had brought one of these, and it was for, I want to say, not the king, the leader of Montenegro.
Ah.
And it was, I believe it was silver or gold, and the grip was covered in gemstones and all that. And this got an award at that
I've seen pictures of that.
Yeah. You can find it on, what is the website that, Rock Island Auction.
Yeah.
They have pictures of
I've
it
seen
on
that.
there.
Yeah. I think I have a Rock Island book over there somewhere. I might have it in it.
But yeah, they got an award. Colt got an honorable mention, and he was pissed off about it ever since.
Yeah.
And then in here, in the grip, which I like a lot, you can store percussion caps in.
Very
percussion
cool.
Caps. Sometimes later ones that so these were not issued to the Army. These were officer purchase only. I believe it's like the Webley Enfield of 1870 was the first actual British military revolver that was given to the Army. So this was officer purchase only. This was used during the Crimean War and the Indian Mutiny, and the officers loved it, especially the 50 caliber one. It came in 45, 47, 44, and then 36 and 38, I believe. But they always praised the 50 caliber version.
Stopping power.
Yeah, absolutely. It was 38 bore. That's what they call it over across the pond. But it was really well liked by the cavalry because it's double action. You don't have to think about it. You can hold your horse's reins in one hand, your revolver in the other. And then there's an account at the Battle of Inkerman. When the Russians came up the hill, an officer was dehorsed, and he had his Dean Adams, and he had 5 assailants coming at him with bayonets, 5 Russian infantrymen, and he shot all 5 of them before they got to him, and the last guy fell and bayoneted him in the leg, actually. But he wrote an account of it, which I believe is actually also on the Rock Island Auction Company for the information about this gun, that said if he had a Colt, he would have perished because he would have had to have cocked it, and that would have taken too long, and the reliable double action of this revolver was perfect. Now, the nipples here, as Bart mentioned earlier, Pilgrim. Sorry. These would actually get deformed, squished, and actually sometimes explode. That was the only downside with this because the rest of it's all heavy and thick, as you can see there.
My Josiah L's has that problem. All of the nipples on it have been peened over from dry firing.
Absolutely. Most of them you see nowadays for sale at auction sites or antique places, they're usually squished or blown up sometimes, which is kind of a little scary, I will admit.
I take it these are milled into the cylinder itself.
No, those ones actually come out.
Oh, good.
The earlier ones, when the patent was first released, did not.
That's the L's problem.
As you can see, I don't know how well this will show up on camera, but there's a little washer almost in there. Yeah. That is the one you keep empty. So if you put a percussion cap on it, it will actually not spin. So usually you would keep that one empty because if you do, it's just enough to get caught up in here and you won't be able to spin it. So that one
that's on
empty.
purpose. That they
right.
Handy idea.
I have seen ones where they don't have it, or 3 of them have it, and they're all different lengths. I don't know about why they did that. I'd have to look into that, but
I would suggest looking at Slick Spring and seeing if you can find new nipples that might fit it.
there is one. I've looked into it before. There's one company in England that makes them, and they're $40 a nipple
Ooh,
for one. But they do come with a little washer, but they're made out of copper. So sometimes they're made out of brass, sometimes they're made out of copper, sometimes they're steel. Yeah, I think that's all I got.
I was going to show you. I've got some Slick Springs, but I can't find them at the moment. But that's a handy pin there.
Yeah, I like it a lot. So this is where the safety was. This has been replaced with a brass replacement. I took it out just for the example because it doesn't function right now. How it works, I don't know how well you can see in there, but there's a hole. It goes all the way through, and you see this little catch here. That's a heavy trigger. That is where the safety comes in. It basically comes in like this, goes in and stops it from falling all the way. But if you pull the trigger back like this, it'll disengage it, and it will. It's held in place by this little notch here. It's kind of like a V, and then another V. So they go like this and kind of hug each other like that to keep it in place. But once you pull the trigger, it disengages it. It comes out. The piece holding it like this is like a flat spring. So it wants to come out like this. So once you pull that trigger, the safety's disengaged. So if you're riding around like that and you have your safety on, you're good to go. It's not going to come out until you pull that trigger for the first time, and you'll fire your first round.
Can I hold the grip for just a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
I just wanted to see. Yes, that is a natural pointability.
Yeah, I love it. I like the sights too.
That's great. I like the grip on that.
Mind you, mostly these are all handmade, so there's little differences here and there. Sometimes the sights are different. Sometimes it's just a V. This one is also a V, and it has a little piece coming out there. Kind of see. I don't know how well it's going to pop out, but it's a little, basically a cylinder on top of your sight to line it up a lot easier, which I like. Sights are good. I compared it to the Colt 1851 at the time. I love them a lot more, but
yeah, I've got one.
both of these were rifled. I found out this one was a shorter twist than the Colt. The rifling is practically non-existent on this one, and it's just not as accurate as Colt. Even though the barrel length is exactly the same, the length is almost the same. The grip is bigger on this one than the Colt, which I like because it fits my whole hand comfortably, and my pinky's not hanging off the end like with a Colt. I'm just biased as heck towards this thing anyway because it's awesome. But yeah, this one's definitely a lot heavier. I think it's at least a pound or two heavier. And on the top, it's probably not going to show up, but it says 13 King Street, London Bridge. It is 13 blocks away from London Bridge, is where this was made. There was a factory there, and then there's markings. It should say the the Adams patent or the Dean patent of 1851, and then on the cylinder is the British marking on each chambering.
The proof mark, yeah.
Yeah, the proof marking. And then sometimes on the trigger guard they'll have a second Adams patent revolver of 1851. Yeah, that's all I got, boss.
That's about it.